Hello, Creative Gems. Welcome back to Creativity. And if you're new here, I'm Sandy. Today, we're going to get really creative with a pair of these plastic display easels, which we will turn into a beautiful hanging crystal chandelier. Dollar Tree sells these in two sizes, and these ones are the smaller of the two sizes. These are the clear versions, but they also sell these easels in black if you prefer that instead. Now, the first thing we're going to do is open each of these easels as wide as possible and position them onto the table surface with the spines together back to back so we can form the shape of the letter X. To keep them into position, I'm going to apply some Fix-All all along the spine where the two display easels will touch together. The Fix-All is like a super glue, so it will provide a really firm and secure hold, especially when bonding plastic materials together. And as you can see, I've also added a little bit of hot glue as well. I'm going to place the two easels together like so, and I'll hold them firmly together for a few seconds, and then I'll go back in with some hot glue to reinforce the hold so we don't have to wait for the Fix-All to fully cure, because it will actually take several hours for the Fix-All to fully cure. And by the way, I know many of you like to use E6000, so I'll just mention that E6000 is also a super glue and it will work perfectly for bonding these two easels together as well. And as for the hot glue, I added some of it only because hot glue cools and dries in mere seconds, so it will help keep the two easels into position while we work on the rest of the craft. That way, I don't have to wait until tomorrow to continue with today's craft project. So the next thing we're going to do is add some embellishments to the display easel. I really like bling and anything shiny, so we're going to go ahead and apply some of the silver rhinestone trim. I've already cut out 3 rows of the trim, and because it's self-adhesive, I can go ahead and stick it onto the easel without applying any extra glue. And while I work on this, I would like to take a moment to thank you for tuning in to today's craft project. If you enjoy glam home decor and DIY crafts on a budget, please let me know by hitting the subscribe button. And if you like what you see today, please give me a thumbs up as well so YouTube will continue to recommend my channel to other viewers like you. Okay, so now that I've got all the trim applied, look how much better this already looks. So the next thing I'm going to do is on the bottom of each of the legs, I'm going to poke a small hole through. The size of a pinhole is really all I need. To do that, I've got my soldering iron. Once plugged in, it does heat up almost instantly and it tends to get really hot, so I usually keep it on the lowest setting. Then I just take the pointy tip and poke a small hole. Once the tip punctures through the display easel, I'll just double check to make sure it's large enough, and then I'll move on to the rest of the legs. This thing can get really hot, so you'll want to be very careful when using it and unplug it as soon as you're done so there are no nasty accidents. And by the way, if you don't have one of these soldering tools, I'll leave a link to it along with all my favorite crafting tools down in the description box. You'll also find links to all my favorite bling embellishments that you often see me craft with as well. And by the way, in case you're curious, the holes will be used later to hang some crystal garland beads, but we're going to leave that till the very last step. For now, I'm going to go ahead and hang 4 of these beautiful ornaments. These are actually ornaments you can hang on your Christmas tree that I found on sale at Hobby Lobby many years ago. I love the facets on these crystal beads, and I think they'll look beautiful hanging down the display easel like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a crystal ball finial to the very top of the display easels. To make sure that the crystal ball stays put, I'm going to apply a generous amount of Fix-All. And while we wait for the fix-all to fully cure, let me show you these hanging wired baskets I found at the Dollar Tree. Now, normally you would use these to hang flower pots in them, but today we're going to do something a bit different. I've removed the black chains from the baskets just so that they don't get in the way while we complete today's craft project. What I'm going to do is place one basket onto the table surface and then place the display easels we glued together and put them right into the center like so. I want to make sure the legs of the display easel are positioned in between the basket wires. And by the way, I'm still waiting for the fix-all on the crystal ball to fully cure, so I'm going to try and be very careful not to disturb it while I work on the basket because I'm going to take a second wired basket and place that one upside down on top of the first basket. Notice how there are three little hooks on each basket? Make sure you line that up as best as you can because we're going to tie them together with some zip ties. I've got three black ones, and these are the smaller zip ties, so they'll be less noticeable once we trim them. But first, what I'm going to do is take one and loop it through the hooks and then tighten them. And while I work on that, I would like to know if any of you have ever crafted with these Dollar Tree easels or hanging baskets before. For me, I love to take ordinary household items and make beautiful home decor crafts with them. Sometimes it does take a bit of thinking outside of the box to come up with creative ways to craft with these items, but I would say there are endless ideas on how to craft with these items. In fact, if you stay until the very end of this video, I'll be showing you a few more amazing home decor crafts I have made with these display easels, as well as the baskets. And the great thing is, it's so budget friendly and it's fairly easy to make even if you're a beginner crafter. And with that said, I've got all the zip ties in place and now this is what we've got. I'm not going to trim the excess zip ties just yet, just in case I need to make some adjustments to them. But essentially, the display easel remains encased inside the two baskets. And there is a small gap between the two baskets, which is perfect because what I want to do next is add a little embellishment to the baskets. I have a bag of these beautiful diamond-shaped gems. These are from Dollarama and they're probably about 2 times the size of what you would normally find at the Dollar Tree. I think they're a little small, but they should still fit in between the two baskets. When positioning these gems, I'll use a little bit of hot glue to secure them in place in between the two baskets. And you may also need to adjust the baskets either by shrinking or widening the gap in order to fit the gems in between them properly. And that is the exact reason why I didn't bother trimming the excess zip ties earlier. And I know some of you will ask, so I'll just let you know that the Dollarama is a Canadian dollar store. It's very similar to Dollar Tree, but there are way fewer locations in the US. So if you're not able to find these gems, I went online and actually found very similar gems that are actually a bit larger than what I'm using today, so they should be suitable to use for this craft project as well. I'll leave a link to those gems in my curated list of favorite bling embellishments, which you'll find in the description box. So the number of gems you incorporate into this chandelier will be totally up to you. I've placed a total of 9 and they're spaced out evenly, but if you want even more, you can see there's plenty of room to add more. Just make sure you space them out evenly. And now that I've got all my gems in place, I'm going to go ahead and snip off the excess zip ties. Okay, so now for the really fun part. I have a bag of these crystal garlands. These are actually acrylic, but if you have the glass ones, those will do as well, although they will be a little bit heavier on your chandelier. I love these acrylic bead garlands because each bead is separated by a silver jump ring, so you can actually size your garlands exactly the length you want. You can hang longer strands or shorter strands, or if you're making a larger chandelier, you could actually hang two different lengths. For my chandelier though, I'm going to do something a little different. I will be applying them to the bottom basket, but they will not be hung vertically. I will show you in a second what I mean. First though, I'm going to count out 7 beads for each of my strands. I'm not quite sure how many strands I'll need, so I'm just going to do a whole bunch, maybe 25 or so, and then figure out later if I need all of them or if I need to make more. Now, when sizing out each strand, you want to make sure you leave a jump ring in place for both ends of each strand. That's because we're going to be anchoring one end to the top of the bottom basket and the other end of the strand to the bottom. Once I have enough of these strands, I'll actually show you what I mean. So I've got a pile of these now, and I'm going to take one and show you how I will attach it to the bottom basket. I'm going to take the jump ring from one of the strands and hook it into place towards the top of the bottom basket like so. For now, I'll leave the other end hanging so I can continue hooking on the rest of the strands to the bottom basket. And what I'll do is I'll hook 2 strands per section, meaning in between each wire, I'll hook 2 of the strands of acrylic beads. Of course, if you prefer a fuller look, go ahead and add more, but just keep in mind, the more you add, the heavier the chandelier will become. For mine, I want it to be relatively lightweight since I'll be hanging this up onto the ceiling by myself, so the lighter it is, the easier it will be for me to hang it when we're done. And while I work on hanging the rest of these garlands to the basket, I would love to know if any of you have ever made your own hanging chandelier with these hanging baskets before. And if you have, I would be curious to know where in your home you chose to hang the chandelier. Comment down below with the word basket and let me know. For mine, I haven't decided where to hang it yet. I have a few ideas, but we'll see later where it will go. I currently already have one I made hanging in the guest washroom, so I'm thinking of hanging this one in the guest bedroom, but we'll have to see. Okay, so now that I have all the strands hanging from the bottom basket, I'm going to carefully tilt this whole thing so I can anchor the other end of each strand to the bottom of the basket. And this is the reason why I told you earlier that it was important to leave both ends with a jump ring. But of course, if you have a different design in mind for your chandelier, you may decide to leave your garlands hanging straight down from the basket. I've seen people do that as well. Well, here is what our chandelier looks like now. You can see that when I lift the chandelier up, the strands of acrylic beads fall and hang exactly to the shape of the wired basket. The only thing is it's looking a little sparse, so I'm actually going to add a third strand to each section of the basket to make the chandelier look fuller. What I also want to do is take shorter strands, add a long teardrop piece to one, and then hook the strand onto the legs of the easel using the little hole we made earlier to hang these strands. And now we'll work on a way to hang this chandelier. Remember we placed this crystal ball here? Well, it's not only for aesthetics because this crystal ball has a hole at the top so we can place a hook onto it. So I have this metal ring here that I will attach to the crystal ball. Once in place, I can then add a chain to it and then the chandelier will be ready to be hung. I'll just reattach these 4 garland strands since they fell out the holes, but you can already see how pretty this chandelier is. So I mentioned in the beginning of this tutorial that the Dollar Tree wired baskets come with their own chain, but I decided to swap them out for this silver one that I found at a sellout, and it only cost me $1. I prefer the silver finish on this chain, but if you don't have any silver chains, the black one that comes with the Dollar Tree basket will do just fine. So, since this is a triple strand chain, I'm actually going to shorten one of them before attaching it to the crystal ball. That way we can raise the easels up higher, and then the other 2 chains will be attached to the top wired basket. And here's the final look for our crystal hanging chandelier. I've placed a battery operated puck light facing upwards onto the basket. I can control the puck light with the remote that the puck light comes with, and when it illuminates, it really makes this chandelier glisten with all the gems adorned onto it. The chandelier is also very lightweight, and if you want to hang the chandelier lower or higher, you can simply adjust the length of the chain. And I mentioned earlier that I have designed a couple of other hanging chandeliers using the Dollar Tree display easels. So here is one where I took 2 of the larger display easels and positioned them on top of a wire basket. This one is much larger and I hung more hanging crystal beads onto this one just to amp up the glam factor. And here's another one that is currently hung in my guest washroom. I have 2 of the smaller display easels enclosed inside 5 picture frames that I attached together into a cube formation. The bottom is left open so the crystal garlands can hang freely down vertically. The chandelier is lit up with some battery-operated fairy lights. If you enjoyed today's craft tutorial, please like and subscribe to my channel and share with other creative gems. Also remember to hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I have another DIY glam project on my channel.